Viruses, when they get into our body, because viruses cannot divide, cannot live on their own, they have to get inside our cells and feed from our tissue. But what is the job of the immune system? To go after them and destroy them. But throughout the years, many years, the viruses became smart. They changed their molecular structures. So their proteins will look like human proteins. And because the immune system knows not to go after self proteins, will go after only non-self. So they change themselves to look like human, and that's how they try to survive.
Welcome to the Hope and Help podcast, where we talk about science and science-based tools for fatigue, chronic illness, autoimmune disorders, neuroimmunology, all of the things that are really impacting our society right now. I'm your host, Haylie Pomroy, #1 New York Times best-selling author of The Fast Metabolism Diet, a leading health and wellness expert. And that's right, guys, I am back in school again, getting my PhD in neuroimmunology. I will always be a fierce advocate for those in a little bit of need and help. So as your advocate, I try to bring individuals that are just exceptional in the fields that can actually make a clinical difference in your life. We have Dr. Vojdani here with us today. Dr. Vojdani, thank you so much for being here. And I really, really appreciate it.
It is my pleasure and honor to be here. And also please share with the audience that you and I met at a very recent International Congress of Autoimmunity in beautiful Ljubljana, where both of us had presentations.
We did. And it was so amazing to be in Ljubljana and just incredible doctors, physicians like yourselves that were just coming together. I think right now it's so important globally to talk about just what in the world is going on in autoimmunity. Dr. Vojdani, I know that you've been your postdoctoral work at UCLA. I mean, I feel like I can tell you all about yourself, but I want to just jump in because our community is really concerned right now. I've shared with our community, I mean, it's why I did what I did, right? In nutrition and in changing my metabolism and dealing with toxins. You know, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder that completely changed my life. I had gotten accepted as alternate vet school as junior year, was going to start my senior year. And I had to take a medical leave of absence. When I was diagnosed with my autoimmune disorder many moons ago, it was just so uncommon. You know, people thought what could be wrong, but it is rampant right now. And that's why I wanted to bring you to the table. What in the world is going on? Why are we seeing so much autoimmune disease? And again, I know we got to meet each other in person out of the country, but it's crazy here in the United States.
Yes. And I would like to interject something that the audience will not forget. That when we do not play the game by the rules and exposing our immune system to so many environmental factors, then the immune system is going to fight back. And that fight back is going to end up with inflammation and autoimmunity. As an immunologist, when I took my course of immunology in 1967, the professor, first of all, told us that students, listen to me, the future of medicine is immunology.
Right.
And today we see how much he was right about this. And then he started teaching us. And the first lesson in the immune system was the body can differentiate between, or the body's immune system can differentiate between self versus non-self. When that balance breaks down, the result is going to be autoimmunity.
I think what he said back then was exquisitely profound. I just think a large part of medicine didn't listen, right?
I agree, yes.
I mean, I can't tell you how many people in our community have had to beg, steal, cheat, and borrow and be gaslit and throw fits to finally get adequate labs run that can even give an indication that their body's struggling, right?
I agree.
So when you tell me in 67, like that's why I'm doing my PhD in neuroimmunology and not something else, right? Is because the immune system is being attacked and our bodies are fighting back. What's the rise? Why now? What's happening now?
First of all, let's present the evidence that the autoimmunity is on the rise.
Okay.
Because many doctors or some scientists also claim that we improved our detection methodologies.
Right.
Which I disagree 100%. Why? Because anti-nuclear antibody, which is a test developed more than probably 50 years ago, is indication that you make antibodies against your cellular components, meaning something from the environment get into your cell. And because of that, the body loses that, the differentiation between self versus not self, and then attacking your own cells. And let me give you a good example. And this is proven, published many, many years ago in scientific journals. Heavy metals can bind to the cell membrane. Then after binding to the cell membrane, manage to go inside the cell, binding to the nuclear components, RNA, DNA, nucleoproteins. And that's why when the cell, goes through cell death, and then we make antibody against the component of the cell, which heavy metal is bound to.
So if it's not because there's a better test than the ANA titers, is it because there's more toxins? Is that
in 2020, Dr. Miller from Environmental Health Institute, he published very, very important article about the rise of anti-nuclear antibodies. So in that article showed in 1970, 1.2%, close to 1% of the so-called, I'm saying that so-called, I'll explain that later, healthy population were positive for anti-nuclear antibody. 1991, 21 years later, that percentage went up to 7. Then in 2012, went up to 12.5%. And I made some kind of calculation. This is my number. In 2024, most probably 20% of the so-called healthy population is positive for anti-nuclear antibodies.
Hey guys, it's Haylie Pomroy, your host. Right about now, you're probably struggling to achieve the health that you deserve, and you're just not sure what you need to do in order to get it. So what I've done is I've created a special link for you that will give you the nutrition and supplement programs that I use in my private practice to achieve amazing results for my clients and my community. Go to HayliePomroy.com/podcast. Plus, when you use that link, you'll get a 20% discount just because I love you. Again, that's HayliePomroy.com/podcast. Now, back to the episode.
I just can't imagine if we think that 20% of our healthy population has it, and I don't know if we can call it autoimmune disease with a positive ANA, right?
Correct. The way I look at this, first of all, I said so-called. You cannot, because anti-nuclear antibody is detected in your patient, but you don't see symptoms. That doesn't mean the patient or patient's immune system did not initiate autoimmune reactivity. So please, Haylie, clarify this part. There is a difference between autoimmune reactivity versus autoimmune disease. And then I'll add more to this.
Perfect. So from what I understand, and you would be who would help me with this, the ANA titer means that the immune system is now angry at self. It doesn't mean it's fully developed into a disease state. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct. Okay. In 2018, in Journal of Autoimmunity, where they looked at presence of antibodies. We are now above anti-nuclear antibody, beyond anti-nuclear antibody, many antibodies. These antibodies, according to that report, depending on type of autoimmune disease, are detected in the blood 3 to 19 years before
Wow.
the full presence of autoimmune disease.
So for me, I have positive ANA titers unless we have in-house labs, so I can take blood every week if I want. When I go through a very focused nutrition-based detoxification program, so like I'll do a 10-day or a 30-day food and nutrient-based cleanse, my ANA titers disappear. Is that because I've mobilized and excreted toxins and my body's immune system doesn't have to focus on that? Consistently, right? Like, so I again, I'm not in the norm of, but I don't know. I consider myself my own lab experiment constantly after I've been doing this for 30 years on myself. Can facilitating detoxification, binding to toxins, identifying, removing, and healing, can that lower an ANA titer?
The answer is yes, but we'll come back to that
Okay.
later on. For example, we said 3 to 19 years antibodies are detected in the blood.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of MS, myelin basic protein antibody, MOG, myelin oligodendrocyte glycoprotein antibodies, ganglioside, cerebellar, synapsin. There are at least 20 different biomarkers of neuroautoimmunity, which probably some of those antibodies are going to be part of your PhD, hopefully.
Yes.
So these are detected 3 years. And then in the case of liver autoimmunity, anti-mitochondrial antibodies, anti-smooth muscle antibody detected 18 to 19 years before the onset of liver autoimmunity. So the message here is, ladies and gentlemen, there is 3 to 18 years of window of opportunity for intervention. Some of my presentations, I made this beautiful arrow. The first part of the arrow is green. So ladies and gentlemen, I want all of you to be in the green zone. But the next part is yellow. The next part is orange. And the next part of the arrow is red. In the yellow is when you have anti-nuclear antibody, anti-smooth muscle antibody, anti-mitochondrial antibody. Your rheumatologist will send you home. Will say, nothing is wrong with you. You don't have any symptoms. So yes, the antibodies are present. You don't have symptoms.
So is it like a ticking time bomb? It's going to develop?
Yes.
Okay.
The next is, if you don't do anything about that during probably 3 to 19 years, then you move to the orange phase, meaning your antibodies are even more elevated and you have some symptoms, but still your body is functioning. You have, for example, rheumatoid arthritis, you have pain, but still you can walk. Okay? If again you don't do anything about it, when you are in the orange zone, few years later, you move to the red zone. Unfortunately, the red zone is when you have very high levels of antibodies or no antibodies, because when the cells get destroyed, they will not be able to make more antibodies. But you have symptomatology and dysfunctional part of your body is present, dysfunctionality. So again, we would like to intervene when you are in the yellow zone or the latest in the orange zone, based on some of these laboratory testing and symptomatology. Yes, you can do a lot in order to reverse or stop the progression of autoimmunity from yellow to orange to red.
How does someone know what zone they're in? What types of tests can be run, and how do they get their doctor to run those tests?
I think as part of your annual checkup, please consider screening for autoimmune diseases. So there's a panel in our laboratory, which is Immunosciences lab. And there is another panel at Cyrex Laboratories, which I developed that. We measure antinuclear antibody, ENA, extractable nuclear antigen, double-stranded DNA, rheumatoid factor, actin antibody, mitochondrial antibodies, and the most important of all is total immune complexes. Because everybody looks at CRP as biomarker of inflammation.
Right.
I'm not saying don't do that. Please do that. But look at your immune complexes, because when you combine lots of antigens and you make antibodies, antigen plus antibody bind together, activating the complement, forming complex called immune complexes. And these immune complexes, if they are very low, they get handled by Kupffer cells in the liver and get rid of them. But when they are too much and your liver is not functioning properly, then the immune complex is going to build up, and those immune complexes can go into your joints, enhancing symptomatology of arthritis, going into your kidney and other part of the tissue, resulting in inflammation and autoimmunity.
Hey guys, it's Haylie, your host. I wanted to bring to your attention the possibility of coming in and doing a study with us. It is called the COVID UP study, and UP stands for Understanding the Post-Viral Phase. You have to be local in South Florida. There are 2 phases of this study. Let me give you the phone number. It's 305-275-5450. And the email is INIMresearch@nova.edu. We are currently looking for patients that are dealing with post-COVID, long COVID. We have 2 phases of that study. Please contact us and see if this could be an opportunity for you to get the care and information that you need.
Hola, soy la doctora Ana Palacio, de la Universidad de Miami. Me encantó participar en el podcast de hoy y quería invitarlos a considerar el estudio COVID UP. Este estudio está tratando de determinar por qué las personas no mejoran después de COVID. Si les interesa saber más de este estudio, por favor llamen al número 305-275-5450 o pueden escribir al email INIMresearch@nova.edu. Les agradezco mucho su interés y los vemos la próxima vez.
Just like you would go, with your annual checkup, maybe you would have your blood sugar, your fasting blood sugar, your hemoglobin A1C. And there was a big movement and a big push to look at patients that were pre-diabetic and do some sort of, I hope, nutrition and lifestyle intervention. From a cardiovascular perspective too, right? We look at total cholesterols, LDL, HDL, your CRP, your C-reactive protein. But I think everybody, I'm gonna really lean into women here for a second, especially women that are going through any kind of hormone change or fluctuation. But any time that you've had tremendous stress, if you're not sleeping, if you're having any pain, any inflammation, any swelling of the joints, any symptom profile, and in we have a Food RX book that goes through the autoimmunity symptom profiles. Anything that you can write for your doctor and ask them in your annual checkup to make sure that you have ANA, ENA, DSD, RF, total immune complex, and CRP also. But I think I got that.
So that is Haylie, that is part of the humoral immune system.
Okay.
So it is about $200.
But how do people get these labs run? Do they just ask their doctor? Do they have to go to a specialty lab? How does that work?
Yeah, they go to the doctor and say, please, draw extra tube of blood and send it to this laboratory like Immunosciences lab, or Cyrex Laboratories and asked for autoimmune panel. In addition, this was only about antibodies. But please remember, antibodies are produced by our white blood cells, by our lymphocytes. There is another unique panel of testing. They check your lymphocyte, whether or not you have a balanced immune system. And let me simplify that. The immune system is like a thermostat in your room. If you turn up the temperature very high, let's say I like 70 degrees. If you turn it to 90 or 100, what will happen in that room? It's the analogy will be like, well, it's too hot, right? And
Right.
the analogy will be inflammation in our body. And if we'll continue living in that environment of inflammation, will result in autoimmunity in the future. And reverse of that is if you turn on the thermostat too low, put it at 50 degrees, 40 degrees. Also, your immune system, we call that immune suppression. One is hyperactivation of the immune system when the temperature is too high. When the temperature is too low, underactivation or hypoactivation of the immune system. We call that immune deficiency.
Are autoimmune disorders always hyper, or are they just displaced? Is it just attacking the wrong thing?
Excellent. In 80% of the cases, it's hyperactivation of the immune system. In 20% of the cases is underactivation of the immune system. Why? When the immune system turn off, what happened to viruses? Viruses are going to have a party in your body. And now, because the body cannot remove the viruses, and the viruses share homology with human tissue, including the brain.
Yeah.
Example, Epstein-Barr virus. It was published in several journals, including Nature Medicine last year, that Epstein-Barr virus share homology with brain tissue.
Explain to us what homology means.
Okay. So, as you know, viruses have been in this world millions, maybe billions years before us. Viruses, when they get into our body, because viruses cannot live on their own, they have to get inside our cells and feed from our tissue. But what is the job of the immune system? To go after them and destroy them. But throughout the years, many years, the viruses became smart. They changed their molecular structures. So their proteins will look like human proteins. And because the immune system knows not to go after self proteins, will go after only non-self. So they change themselves to look like human, and that's how they try to survive. So there is a fight between human immune system and viruses. Viruses fight back by causing mutation, changing their structure. So think about a necklace with like 30 different beads of different colors. That is, we call that the peptide of different colors. And if we'll put that 30 beads, amino acids, and take another 30 amino acids from myelin basic protein or myelin oligodendrocyte glycoprotein from the brain, put them side by side. If 5 of those will match with each other, the beads will be the same color. That is going to result in cross-reactivity. And when we produce antibodies against the virus 30 beads, that antibody is going to attack our brain tissue because of similarity between, these 30 beads from the brain versus Epstein-Barr virus or HHV6.
This Giving Tuesday, December 3rd, you have the chance to make a real difference. Your donation to the Institute for Neuro-Immune Medicine helps fund cutting-edge research and provides crucial patient care. Every contribution moves us closer to innovative solutions for those in need. Donate now by visiting our holiday campaign at bit.ly/INIM give. The campaign is live until December 15th, so there's still time to get involved. Thank you for your support. Together, we can create a lasting change.
When your body went after COVID, and we pulled that antibody, that thing, your fight, right? Your immune system that fights the virus, as it was coded to fight this virus, it was also coded to fight your own tissue.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I ask a question just because it's just massive, you guys. That's huge. So yeah, mind blown over here. Add on top of that, do you have any concern with layering on top of that a synthetic adjuvant? So people that had an adjuvant or something that whipped up the immune system, right? So now we were inoculated or vaccinated, whatever you want to call it, for this virus. We had an adjuvant which whipped up our immune system, and then we got the virus. And the virus, when our body was going like gangbusters after the virus because it was whipped up because the adjuvant, we're now going even more aggressively after the tissue?
Excellent question. And I think you were at my lecture when I presented antibodies against PEG, polyethylene glycol, in vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals. So we found anti-polyethylene glycol antibody in not unvaccinated, because I had blood samples from before COVID. And also we found high levels in the vaccinated. Why people who were from before COVID had? Because polyethylene glycol is used in many, many, many medications, including if you put any eye drops, use any eye drops, you are introducing lots of polyethylene glycol into your body. And this is just one example. So yes, the adjuvants can enhance antibody production. And I came across this almost 30 years ago when patients who had silicone breast implants, they presented lots of symptoms of autoimmunity. When they removed the implants, a few years later, their antibody disappeared. So yes, adjuvant is something that used mixing different antigens to make the vaccine more efficient, meaning more antibodies are produced against the vaccine, but at the same time, also you are going to make antibodies that will cross-react with human tissue that may result in autoimmunity.
I think in 1967, when your professor said it's going to be the most important aspect of medicine, I don't think it could be more true than it is today. Outside of doing, which I love, and I'm going to suggest this to everybody in our community, when you are having your annual physical, when you are having your hopefully it's a preventative engagement with a healthcare practitioner that's going to be your massive cheerleader for the team that you're captain of, which is your health, that you're going to be doing this testing as part of your annual physical. How often, once a person goes through and runs these labs, how often should they have them rerun, or does it matter? Is that dependent on what therapy is being put in place?
Yeah. So I would like to finish the subject of laboratory testing, but before that, I want to add a little bit to issue of Botox and all of that. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, if you have autoimmune reactivity or autoimmune disease, please stop using Botox. Please stop putting foreign material in your body, including silicone breast implants.
Right.
I stopped there, but I'll going back to
No, I
laboratory
appreciate
testing.
that from an immunologist perspective, right? I
Yes.
appreciate that from an immunology perspective because we don't. I mean, we're told that it's safe and it's focalized and that breast implants don't leak. I mean, look at that, all of that happened, and it took patients getting really, really, really sick and dying before some of what we knew in medicine, came out to be true. I know I appreciate you saying that we need more advocates for our health and wellness, and women and men now are told that it's just completely benign and it has no systemic impact. And I'm cautious about anything you put in your body. I like to identify, remove and repair. Eat real food, eat whole food, detox often. Like those are just basics that we're not able to sidestep or overstep kind of those issues in foundational health. But the diagnostic is so important. Understanding, whether you're on the green end or the red end of things.
Let me answer this part.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we said testing, ANA, ENA, and all of that, at least once a year. But also there are more sophisticated testing done at Cyrex laboratories, cyrexlab.com, which they do measure antibodies against 25 tissue antigens, including 7 of them are from the brain. So please consider that. Now, I would like to take it to the next level that
I just want to let me punctuate that really quick. That is really important for those of you that are dealing with any type of neuroinflammatory, whether it's ME/CFS, whether it's POTS, whether it's you're having post-exertional malaise, whether you're definitely if you're dealing with long COVID, any of the autoimmune things. It's really important to see, how the body's responding, because if we can identify the where, we can send help faster, right? We can create targeted therapeutic approaches to support your unique body in the aspect of functional medicine, getting to the root cause, understanding, why is the body struggling, but fact finding, right? We're too dynamic and complex to do a shotgun approach of medicine anymore. It isn't working. I can't say it's not going to work. Flat out isn't working. Right? We wouldn't be in the situation we're in.
So the next level of testing to look at cellular immunity, meaning your lymphocytes. There is a test also at Cyrex called lymphocyte map. Mapping your immune system should be part of your annual checkup. Please consider that. I think it's around $500. So what that test is going to look at, whether you have a balanced immune system. For example, if you want to explain that a little bit more, we have T and B cells. There is a ratio between T and B cells. There is CD4, CD8, and their ratio. There is Th1 and Th2 and their ratio. There is T helper 17 and the regulatory T cell. The regulatory T cells are the one that really are so important in treatment of patient with autoimmune reactivity and prevention of autoimmunity in the future. So one more thing I would like to add, and then you continue. I would like to share with you a quote from an article published in 2020 by a scientist by name of Khan Khan, Professor Khan, that published in the Journal of Autoimmunity, Frontiers in Immunology. And this sentence is this: the most challenging aspect of autoimmunity is to identify the early events that trigger immune dysregulation and autoimmunity. So the early events are the antibodies. The early events could be detected with lymphocyte map. If they are abnormal, then you have to ask, is it the food that I'm eating causing some of these abnormal early events? Is it toxicochemical? Is it pathogens such as viruses or oral pathogens and other pathogens? So then we can investigate and test for, find whether it is really the food. Is it a toxic chemical? Is it a virus causing autoimmunity? So I really made my points, early detection and finding the early events and what is responsible for detection of some of these abnormal early events in the form of antibody and versus abnormal lymphocytes.
So I love that. And I'll just share with our community, we did specifically your immune mapping. And the way that it was described to me, and I love the colorful charts and everything, but it was kind of like looking at a whole community and how they operate together, how the schools and the churches and the libraries and the roads and the infrastructure, how it all works together. Because the immune system's not just this one kind of a stationary thing. It's not a vase on a shelf, right? It's a living, breathing organism. We are a living, breathing organism, but the immune system itself has all of these intricate parts. And what I was able to, when you talk about what was the early insult, I had some genetic predispositions that put me, maybe made me a great hostess to manifest an autoimmune disorder. But it was identifying the toxins, and I had a viral episode. I had cytomegalovirus, IgM, IgG, ended up hospitalized with viral meningitis. But prior to that, when we were using your labs, we were able to dissect that I had insult of malathion, and then I remembered being sprayed with malathion. We were out, goofing off past curfew. They were spraying in the state of California. And I got drenched with malathion. We were supposed to be in, the cars were supposed to be covered. And of course we were not. But it was fascinating for me. So I did a lot of, and I still work very hard on detoxification pathways. And obviously I'm diligent with my foods, because I don't want to be on the medications and I want to be healthy and I want to have amazing labs and feel incredible and pain-free and live an abundant life and be able to have children and all of these things. But I, just from a patient perspective, it was diagnostics that helped me really define my path back to wellness. And so I think that the takeaway for me, this is such a full circle moment because, you're the man behind all the labs that I looked at for years and years and years.
But Haylie, you were lucky. You were lucky, not because you were exposed to malathion. You were lucky that you could identify the trigger.
Yes.
You removed the triggers and then you supported your body and you got rid of the antibodies.
What I wanted to do in bringing you here, and I just heard you commit to coming back, which is what my next question was going to be, is please, please, please promise me you'll come back.
My honor.
It was such a long journey and so many bottlenecks, so many things that got in the way, so many doctors' doors that I had to kick down, so many people that I had to get. I don't care about validation, but I had to get to participate. I feel like I, did a little bit of extortionism and all kinds of stuff, right? To get on the path that I'm at. What I wanted to start this conversation, and you've done so eloquently, is to understand that this is on the rise, that there are ways to look and detect, and that if you're ready to get on a path towards wellness, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, or you don't feel well, right? Fact find. You deserve the information. There are places you can get access to the information. That's why I'm bringing to our community the things that I was able to take advantage of, right? I didn't get here by accident. It is a very deliberate strategic plan that allows me to do what I can do. But what I don't want to do is all of you out there have to have the long journey that I had. It's my life's work to shorten the gap. And that's to bring brilliant people to the table. And let me tell you, if you can find out why and what's going on with your immune system, you are more than halfway there. We can develop a how, a why, a what to do, but it's got to be based on you. Do not take one-step approach to health and wellness and swallow something that's going to make your world better. It doesn't happen. You are dynamic. What's happening to you is biodiverse. Your immune system, we heard it way back in 1967, Dr. Vojdani, he was right. Put your immune system front and center, just like you look about breast health and cardiovascular health and your blood sugar health. Inflammation, neuroinflammation, immune modulation is the way that you're going to be able to get yourself healthy. I cannot thank you enough for being here. Everybody on our team was so pumped that I landed this interview. I can't even tell you. I don't think that they have any idea how honored I am. So thank you for being here. I heard you already commit that you're coming back. Please say it's true.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. I look forward to, we have so much to dissect. I want to dissect nutraceuticals. I want to dissect food. I want to go deeper into viruses, but you guys post your questions. We've got them here for us. I've brought to the table what has helped me, and I want you to have access so it can help you too. Dr. Vojdani, please.
Thank you so much.
Let's see each other in this country. I had to travel all the way to Ljubljana to land this interview, guys. So I cannot thank you enough for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing with us your own experience, which is really, the message is detect that you did.
Right.
Remove and repair. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.